Hey out there, YouTube fam. Welcome to the Kevin Strong Show. Well, this is going to be a different video. In today's video, I came across this video on YouTube about a lady who's middle-aged. She's 54 years old. She was making $180,000 a year in the tech industry, got laid off, and had to resort to driving Uber and Lyft. So we're going to talk about that. Because federal workers, the average federal worker is 47. Significant portion of them are 55 years of age or older. And ironically, Gen X, which includes that age group, has the biggest amount of student debt than any other demographic in the United States. But more specifically, we're going to talk about this article. I may tick some people off, but I'm going to say this ahead of time. Get over yourself. I'm going to base this on reality and personal experience. So without further ado, let's go ahead and listen to this lady tell her story. I'm going to show you some of the comments. Keep an open mind, because when I bring this back home about personal accountability and being proactive, it's going to make a lot of sense to a lot of you. So let's get cracking.
For the last few weeks, I have been working as an Uber and Lyft driver after 9 solid months of being unemployed. So today I want to share the reality of starting over, the grit that it takes to rebuild, and what this massive pivot has taught me about survival, self-worth, and resilience. Because if you've ever been forced to start over when you thought that you were stable, I think that you'll understand exactly where I'm coming from. For those of you that are new here, I'm a former tech professional who got laid off after 30 years. I was damn good at my job, and I perfected my craft over those 3 decades. Then, poof, I was laid off, and now I can't even get an interview. So yeah, I'm pretty much feeling like my career is donezo. In my world right now, stability is but a long lost fairy tale. I am now in a whole different world where it isn't about promotions or glass ceilings. This is about making it through each day with enough sleep, bravery, and patience to get up and do it all over again.
Okay, gonna stop for a second. So she said she thought she was stable. That was one point. And she had been at this job for 30 years, 3 decades. And when she got laid off, apparently, obviously, she probably was trying to find work in the exact same industry. And to no avail, she said she couldn't even get an interview. And that ultimately would lead her to drive for Uber. I will let the video roll.
Every morning at 4 a.m., I get up and I put myself together. I do my hair, I put on makeup, and I put together a nice, although it's incredibly comfy, outfit. Now, let me explain why this is important to me. I'm not just rolling out of bed looking like I've given up, even though some days it feels like I should. I'm 54. I have white hair. Silver. It's silver hair. But I want to be the best damn driver that they've ever had. I take a lot of pride in my work. I'm really old school as far as that's concerned. I know a lot of other drivers just kind of call it in, but I want riding in my car to be an experience, one that sets you on the right path for your day. I take every job that I've ever had very seriously, and I do the best work that I can do. And this job is absolutely no different. Why? Because it's more than a job to me.
Okay, I'm going to pop over to some different. She's talking about the financial. See this financial adjustments. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
So going from my salary, which was $180,000 a year with benefits and bonuses, to now getting excited if I make $150 in a day. It is a whole new way of looking at things. Whereas I used to spend money without giving it much thought, now everything has a measurement, right? So we used to order dinner out. I just tap on the app, boop, 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 dinner's ordered. Now I'm like, boop, boop, boop. Oh no, that is like 3 rides worth of works. Guess I'm cooking tonight. And my nails that I love getting done, well, that's over too. These nails are a day's worth of work for me, and I can't do that anymore. There's no cushion left. It's just me against the numbers, hoping that they add up by the end of the week. Now, this pivot has forced me to get real about what matters and how fragile everything can be. Like I've said, I have been...
Okay, that's enough. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to scroll down to the comments. And this one lady says, wow, I feel for you. I'm 60, work a 6-figure job that has required 54 hours a week, night shift from home. For the last 3 years, I've had just engaged an attorney to help me with my digital nomad. Okay, so she's trying to go to Italy. That's probably a smart thing. Here's a 23-year-old whining about delivering food full time as a 23-year-old. This is where we've come in our society. We're 23-year-old. 6 years from this year, this person was in high school, needed a hall pass, but now they're complaining about they have to deliver food as a full-time job. This person says they went through it in their 30s. And all of the comments are basically show empathy and support for what this lady is going through. Okay, now back to the main screen. So I was taking some notes of all of that. You've seen some of the comments. This is what I want to talk about. As a recap, she said she thought she was stable. Check. She's been there for 30 years. No interview after getting laid off. And like I said, she ultimately decided to say, hey, I got to get some kind of money coming in, so I'm going to work at Uber and Lyft. She said when she had her job, she had perks and bonuses. She ordered out a lot. And my overall impression of her demeanor and professionalism, which is A+, she has somewhat of a princess mentality. So now the gloves come off, and I give you my editorial opinion. She deserved it. She took it for granted. I'm going to give you an analogy, and then I'm going to double down on my points. And those of you who've been following me on videos have heard this analogy before, but I'm going to repeat it because obviously my subscriber base has grown quite a bit. In this country, a lot of people say that they don't want to push for excellence, right? They're okay with the C, to give you an analogy. They just want to have just enough to get by. This is not this lady, but in a way it is. It's just at a higher standard. But follow me. Problems start at 6 o'clock in the morning. You ignore them through procrastination, through laziness. You see things are changing socially, economically, financially, health-wise. I've been the same weight for 35 years. Actually, I weigh less now than I did 35 years ago. So people don't take care of their health. All of these issues come back to haunt you at some point in your life. So these problems, debt included, start at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then we wait till 11:59 p.m., 1 minute before midnight, and then we want to get on social media and complain about how hard things are. Well, maybe 8 or 10 years ago, when you were living paycheck to paycheck, you can actually get by and have a comfortable lifestyle. But slowly and systematically, inflation and the rising cost of everything has squeezed that margin so thin that you can no longer do it. And instead of people adjusting their mentality and adaptability to a new age economy, they see themselves as victims because they don't want to change. Now back to this lady. How in the hell do you make $180,000 a year, be gainfully employed for 30 years, had perks, bonuses, and was ordering out dinner, but you had to go and relegate yourself to being an Uber driver in less than 12 months, AKA she didn't have an emergency fund. No one's talking about that. I didn't want to bore you and scroll down and let you look at all the comments, nor does she talk about that. If you make almost $200,000 a year and you have to work as an Uber driver within 9 months after losing that job, you're living beyond your means. That's the salient point that you need to extract from this whole video. The more money you make, they say the more money you spend. The prudent thing to do, and what I've learned to do, is that you have a baseline. That baseline does not change unless it's an absolute necessity, not based on how I feel, but out of a need. And if you can keep that baseline relatively straight, it's going to fluctuate a little bit, obviously because of inflation and other things, and your income increases, that gap widens. The wider that gap is, the more comfortable you become. That's called disposable income. It's very, very easy to lay out a map to explain how you do all this. I started over at 44. Those of you who've been following me on YouTube know that story. I'm not going to go over it again. but I am damn qualified, in all caps, damn qualified to talk about starting over and what it takes with literally nothing. Getting back to the point. So no one's having any personal accountability. This lady's not talking about she had an emergency fund. If you make $250,000 a year and you lose your job, you should be able to go years without any disruption in your financial household. So I look at it a little bit differently. The more money you make, the more responsibility you have to live below your means to the point where you can preserve that lifestyle and maybe transition into something else that maybe put you in a better position to regain a big portion of the income that you left. But if she went from 180 all the way down to an Uber driver in less than 12 months, every dollar that was coming in that lady's household, she was blowing it. And everybody in the comments section can show empathy to that situation because misery loves company. See, it's even hard for the people who make $180,000 a year to get ahead. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. When I go to the grocery store, I just look at the price and be like, oh, you complain, but it doesn't change my spending. I'm not here to disclose my income, and I'm not saying I'm rich, but I live a very comfortable lifestyle because my baseline has never changed. I have a 2012 Honda that has 132,000 miles on it, and I'm going to continue to drive it till the wheels fall off. I don't embrace materialism. That's just intrinsic value. It doesn't mean anything to me. I had a really good friend, and we'll get ready to wrap this video up because it's getting long in the tooth, sharing some information. And she said something to me that kind of really ticked me off, but I was okay with it. We're talking about some bills and whatever. And she's a homeowner, I'm a renter, and her payment is significantly lower than my rent. And she was like, well, my mortgage payment is XYZ. And I was just like, that's the classic example of if you're going to start comparing whether it was implicit or explicit, somebody spending too much on something, which my rent is well below my income and well below the environment. I have a great deal. But the point with the story, folks, is this. I told this person, you have to total up all of your debt, right? So you can't just take one item. The amount of money I could just save just from a job, most people would be happy if they could get that from appreciation from a house because I live below my means. Not to mention the other stuff. But the point I was trying to tell this person is that the person knows me well enough, and I was classy about it. I said, hey, you've known me long enough that I'm pretty smart with my money and how to invest it. So the fact that she wanted to take one line item out of my monthly expenses, which is pretty much the biggest and the only one, and highlight that, knowing damn well all of her expenses probably exceed my expenses. It's about disposable income. People get so fixated on one line. If somebody had a $900 car note and you didn't have a car note and you say, well, why in the hell are you spending $900 on a car? But they're saving, let's say, $50,000 a year just from a job, but you're only saving $35,000. Who's flush with more disposable income? So anyway, that's a side note. So this was an interesting story. I wanted to share it with you guys. Once again, I know it probably rubs somebody the wrong way, but this is what I call a self-inflicted wound. I guarantee you there were tea leaves, there was internal rumors going on about possibly layoffs or the company going in a different direction. Things like that very seldom just happen overnight. And for you to work, that lady, 30 years and probably not even have 1 year of savings lined up, take the pain. Take the pain. So agree or disagree, please feel free to leave a comment. If you enjoyed this episode of the Kevin Strong Show, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share because I care. Always keep your credit score up and your debt down. This was the Kevin Strong Show, and I'll see you in the next one, and have a great day.